Alright, thank you for checking out this video. This is CatonDaBack and welcome to this new update on the Super Baby game that I'm remaking. This is the new devlog up for it. And I'm just showing you guys, giving you guys an update on the new things that were added to the game. For one, I added in a new feature. I added in well, in the previous video, we went over a few things. Went over how I remade the enemies and things like that. In the previous video, went over how I added in the camera, and then also how I added in level transitions, which I'm going a little bit more in detail of the new additions to the level transition, which I added to the video, added to the game since the last video. Um, and in this game, I pretty much went ahead and focused. And this time, focused a lot on level design and things of that nature, and resizing the enemies, things of that nature. So let me show you what I did. Now, this is the first level. This is the first level right now. I haven't done any type of tiling work yet. Only thing I've done was I just added in the level, and also I worked on that transition, on the fade effect as well. So if I come here and I play the game, it will actually do a nice fade effect before while I'm if I pass, if I so happen to die or something like that. So if I die right here, you see that fade effect that came in. So I fixed that from the previous game, from the previous one, from the previous video. So that's there. And also then I added in, and also like I said, and that was probably the main thing I added. But the main thing that I had to work on throughout this project while I was testing the three levels was the enemies, because for some reason the enemies was not properly working correctly. For some reason, some of the birds and things like that was not working right. For some reason, they was they was working fine. Only issue that I had was they when the birds, when they was flying back and forth, for some reason this barrier wall that's supposed to make them turn around and go the opposite direction, it wasn't stopping them for some reason. So what I had to do, I had to do a little bit more, a little bit, did do some creative programming, I would say, on my part. Same thing with the wolves. The same thing. The wolves had to go through had the same issue with them as well. Uh, where for some reason this barrier once again was not this barrier was not keeping them in check pretty much. Keep was basically when they hit it, they just go through it instead of just go turn the opposite direction and go in the opposite direction. So they was just going through it, and I could just show you an example of that very quickly. Because when I first encountered this was in this level right here, was in the last level while I was testing it, and I saw this little wolf right here. What happened was, what happened was every time when I came, I was in the testing level out. When I came here, I saw that he ran off the level, and I was like, that's not supposed to happen, because if we go into the code here, it just says, hey, if you collide with the boundary wall, with E boundary, basically toggle moving left. And what moving left is, we go to the code down here. If it says right here, if enemies is set to basic AI or flying AI, and then if enemies moving left, if moving left is equal to true, then move the enemy to the left. If moving left is not enabled, then go ahead and move the enemy right and just play his animation. So that's pretty much all that happens. It's supposed to basically, when he collides with this, it's supposed to send him back the other way, the opposite direction, pretty much. Um, Same thing. Both the bird and the wolf are programmed the same way. So that's pretty much what's supposed to happen. However, that wasn't the case. When I came here, let's say if I turn this solid object off and I go ahead and play this level out. Actually, it was this one right here. I'll go ahead and turn this one off. Turn this one back on real quick. All right, so let's go ahead and just check this out real quick. Right, watch, he's gonna run right through the level. See, you saw what happened right there. He saw how he tried to go the opposite direction, but for some reason he turned back to the left and he ran off the level. And that's what kept happening over and over again. And the birds was doing the same thing too. Um, so what I had to do in order to fix this, what I did was I made this into a solid object and it made this tag here. So when I made this into a solid object, um, when I made this to a solid object, then finally for some reason it worked. It worked the way that I wanted it to work. So now I made this to a solid object again. Now watch how it works. Right? And boom, it goes the opposite direction. And then also you see, even though it's a solid object, me as the player, I can run through it and things like that. So I could run through this object. However, if that tag wasn't, but the reason why he's able to do this is because I set a condition for the player that says every tick I want you to check if you're colliding with any solid object that has a tag called EB. Has the tag any solid object. Basically exclude that from your collisions list. Do not ignore all collisions when it comes to that object. And that's what I did, and that's what I set right here on this level right here, set right here on this solid object is a tag called EB for enemy boundary. So basically, so now if I were to get rid of this, so let's say when I try to jump onto the level now, you see the enemy's going, the wolf is going to come, he's going to bounce the opposite direction, right? Boom. Watch me. So, see, I wasn't able to even jump. I wasn't able to even jump because, well, actually, no, that's probably because my mouse got stuck. But watch what happens with me. Let's do this one more time. The wolf comes, boom, he goes out to the opposite direction. Watch me. Oh, you see, I'm colliding with something, and I wasn't able to jump on the platform. So you see that really made things very, hairy in that situation. So that's why I did. That's why what I did. That's why I set it up the way that I did it, programmed it the way that I did. So now I'm going to add that EB back here. And let's go ahead and watch. See, now I'm able to walk through the level and things like that. So other than that, right now, like I said, but I fixed that. That was happening before all the enemies, and so I fixed that. So right now, like I said, all three levels are working. Like I said, I got level 1 set up, fully working. Level 2 and level 3 all working and running very well now. So my next move right now is to try to do the tiling for it, which I'm going to start working on sometime over probably before the weekend, probably like Thursday or Friday, hopefully, and try to go ahead and get this game, I would say, to moving towards completion, in the coming weeks. But other than that, that's pretty much it regarding updates. Like I said, I forgot. I wanted to go over the transition. I made changes to the transitions, and I don't know if I went over this in the previous video, but forgive me. Please correct me in the comments if I did. But here is the new way I set up the collision. I mean the transition. And I went over it in the previous video. I did went over part of this in the previous video, but what I did was added a new variable called um, checkpoint number, and I added a second checkpoint here. So what happens is, in the first video, I showed you how it's basically using this variable here, this player start, spawn player is equal to start. Basically, it's telling start this player at the starter spawner point. So that means anytime the player dies or then the player spawns on the level, spawn him here. However, if this is not equal to spawn player but is equal to checkpoint, then goes ahead and spawn him at the checkpoint, which we saw that on during the previous video. However, now I add this new checkpoint number, which that determines which checkpoint to spawn the player at, because there's two of them now. So right now, so just like how in the previous video, so right now this checkpoint number is basically, it's going to go up each and every time we go through a level, pretty much. So now if we are at checkpoint, so now if we're at checkpoint 1 and we still happen to die, so let me go back to level 1 and to show you how. So now if the player collides with gateway 1, what it does, it increments that variable on checkpoint number by 1, and then it brings here. So right here on this part right here, if the player dies at any point during this part, he will spawn right here at this checkpoint, not here at the green point anymore. He'll spawn down here only, because that checkpoint number has been incremented to 1. So if it's equal to 1, he's going to spawn here at the first checkpoint. And why do I know that? Because that's how I set it right here. Because when he goes through the first checkpoint, which I said right here, if he goes through gateway 1, you set the spawn player to checkpoint. At checkpoint, you'll go to checkpoint 1. Now it's going to go ahead and do a check that says, okay, if checkpoint is less than 2, go ahead and add 1 to it, and then do that 1 time. And if checkpoint number is equal to 1 and spawn player is equal to checkpoint, then go ahead and spawn him at gateway 2, which gateway 2, which we just showed, is right here. So once he comes out here, anytime on this level, if he dies, he'll get spawned right here. And the same thing will happen if he gets to gateway 1 again. That'll increment this value by 1 again, making that 2. And once that's equal to 2, it'll basically move to down here, where it says if checkpoint is equal to if spawn player is equal to checkpoint and checkpoint's number is equal to 2, then spawn player has checkpoint 2, which if we go back to the level, once he hits here, you'll increment that value by 1, making that checkpoint number equal to 2. And then what he'll spawn right here, and then anytime if he dies on this section of the level, this checkpoint right here, which is checkpoint 2, that will be the place where the player will spawn at. So that's pretty much how I have it set right now. Other than that, that's pretty much how I have it set right now. And I actually like how that's set up because it makes it all nice and clean. But other than that, that's pretty much everything that I added to the game. Outside of just adding the platform, the falling platform, which I added this platform here, this falling platform here, which is pretty much something that really needed to really fix on the previous game. Because if you guys played the previous one, you saw how horrible that one was. So all it did was made the code a little bit better on this one, where pretty much I just have it so that there's the metal platform. What it does, it spawns another platform that falls and then disappears. What it does is the original disappears and then creates a metal platform called platform falling. This is the one that pretty much will fall, and what it does, it will respawn itself. But like I said, I already added this to the game. But outside of this, that's pretty much it. What I did regarding updates. So right now, like I said, this upcoming week, I plan on just working on level design, adding the tiles, and making this look a little bit better, and moving close and close towards this game's completion. But I do thank everyone who has taken the time to check out this video or this series of videos, And like I said, if you like the content, please subscribe. Um, please subscribe, and if you want to get notified when I put up a video or a devlog or a trailer of any game that I'm coming out with in the future, please go ahead and hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. Um, Other than that, this is CatonDaBack, and I thank you guys for checking out this video. All right, peace.